I'm Ami Campbell and you're listening to How's That, the cricket podcast.
How's that? You messed about, I called you out. How's that?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of How's That, the cricket podcast with me, Ollie.
And me, Lily.
So once more, a fair bit of cricket that we've got to talk about, and obviously another guest to interview, which this time is Manchester Originals star Ami Campbell. So that'll be on the way very shortly. But we are going to start with talking about a bit of cricket. And just after we mentioned the 100, we may as well start there. Obviously, men's and women's games have been played throughout the last few days. Men's is harder to keep up with because there's a ridiculous amount of games that get played over every single day. But we're trying our best. But yeah, obviously then the women's as well, which is, I think we both agree, we've said off air, slightly easier to keep up with, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The men are just, like we said, very ahead than the women. So yeah, it is pretty difficult to keep up to date with the men. And as I'm watching a lot more of the women's games, it's easier to recap all those.
Yeah, certainly. So we will start with the seventh game of the women's 100, which was Trent and Birmingham, with Birmingham winning that one rather easily. They did it with 9 balls left, but they could have won that one with a lot more time to spare had they put their foot down. Obviously not really much to shout about from a Trent point of view, maybe save for a couple of good innings from Elise Villani and Nat Siver. But then again, they probably could have gone on with that and didn't, which was the frustrating thing from their point of view. The wickets were shared around, which was a good thing for me for Birmingham. Emily Arlett with 3. You had Sophie Molyneux, Georgia Elvis with 2, Izzy Wong, podcast favourite, and Sophie Devine with 1 apiece. And then in the batting column, yeah, they walked it, didn't they? Elise Perry, 39 unbeaten, Emmy Jones, 44 unbeaten. They did it too easy, didn't they, in the end?
Yeah, they did. And yeah, they managed to take Trent down a peg, I guess. But yeah, Birmingham are doing really well. They haven't lost a game yet. So it's really good to see them doing so well. Obviously, a very close second team. So yeah, it's been really good to see everyone do well within the Phoenix squad. Like you said, everything's shared around evenly, whether that be wickets or runs. So it's good to see everybody get their go, really.
Yeah, it certainly was. They're one of 2 unbeaten sides in the competition so far, along with the Southern Brave, who we'll get onto in a moment. The Manchester Originals, obviously both of us behind them this season and beyond. They got a win over the Welsh Fire, and I guess what you could describe as the Alex Hartley derby. Good win for the Originals, who batted first and made 156 for 2. Deandra Dottin, 67, not out. Sophie Eccleston, 36 off 18, if you don't mind. 2 runs a ball. That was pretty handy. If you ask me, Alex Hartley got a wicket, got rid of Lizelle Lee, which fair's fair. Yeah, she had the 1 wicket. Annabelle Sutherland took the other. And then in the batting column for Welsh Fire, they did okay, put up a good fist of it. Hayley Matthews, 69, was a good knock. Tammy Beaumont, 45, not out. And if you look in the bowlers column, you've got Deandra Dottin with 2 and Sophie Eccleston with the other one. So Deandra Dottin, player of the match for sure.
Yeah, it's good to see her, score again, because she has had a couple of tough runs recently. So to see her get out there, the world boss, obviously, as everyone calls her. So yeah, good to see her score again. But yeah, look, I guess the real competition that day was the Battle of the Spuds, wasn't it? It was Hartley versus Cross, and Cross came out on top.
Yeah, I said the Alex Hartley derby. It's the no balls derby, isn't it? One of the two, whatever you want to coin it. There's a lot of battles within the battle there, I think. But good to see Manchester get a win there. And yeah, they're on a bit of a roll, aren't they, at the moment? We said at the beginning, like, they just need to get a win on the board. And since they've done that, they've looked pretty decent. But we'll get a close win. It shouldn't have been that close. 112 for 8. You'd think you'd chase down pretty easily. They did it in 99 deliveries. So they left it right to the last, but got there in the end. Nat Siver again playing well for Trent with 59. With the bat and with the ball, we had Eva Gray with 2, and quite a few there with a wicket, including Alice Capsey as well, who took the 1. Obviously, you're looking for her to join the Strikers now. I saw your tweet the other day that you want her to join Adelaide, but why she'd want to go there, I wouldn't know.
Excuse me.
She'd be fine there. I'm joking. She'd be fine. And in terms of with the bat, Susie Bates, 41, the new Stars talent, of course. Marizanne Cap, 34. Alice Capsey with 24. So again, what we've said about multifaceted batting, sharing the load around, and it usually does all right if you do that, as long as you're winning, of course.
Yeah, I don't agree with the comment you just said about Susie Bates as the new star, though. I just picked that up.
I thought I'd slide that one in.
Also, yeah, like you said before, unrelated to the cricket game, really, I am all for Capsey at the Strikers. I think blue would suit her. I think it should look brilliant in the electric blue. And she's obviously new talent, just turned 18. So I think she'd really, really value a trip down under and play for the Strikers. So anyone listening to this, sign her up.
Get her involved.
I want it.
Get her involved. I think just seeing Alice Capsey down here, whatever team she played for, even if she played for the Renegades, like I would just like to see Alice Capsey playing in Australia, playing in the WBBL, because I think the competition as a whole would be better for it. And I mean, seeing her play for the Strikers would make you happy, which, you know, is a boost for the podcast and a boost for you. So I wouldn't mind seeing Alice Capsey playing for the Strikers. I'm just taking the mic.
There you go. I'll take that.
Yeah, of course. But yeah.
Yeah. I love Alice Capsey, and I'm a big Alice Capsey enthusiast, and I'd absolutely love to see her down here. And like you said, any colours, I'd still make sure I go down and support her, but blue would be extra special, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you'd be saying that, and I'd be questioning you if you weren't. But certainly, I think Alice Capsey is a star of the future and going to be a cornerstone of English cricket for a long while. So if she can get a bit of experience out here, it may well help not only the T20 game, but also, you know, our international game as well, playing on Australian pitches with Australian balls, Kookaburra balls, whatever. Will probably help her in that sense. But yeah, another good win for the Oval Invincibles in that one. And Trent, again, as you say before, going down another peg. So yeah, they've faltered a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but there's time for them to respond, and they've got the players to help them do that. The game we mentioned before, Southern Brave and Manchester Originals. Southern Brave winning that one, keeping their 100% record intact. Smriti Mandana was wonderful, making 43, opening the batting alongside Danny Wyatt, who made 31 herself. Nasir Dunkley with 25, Maya Boucher 23. And then in the wickets column again, Sophie Eccleston, the only one with 2. Probably the best bowler in the world at the moment, or best spin bowler at least. If you're not willing to concede best bowler, best spin bowler by an absolute mile. Emma Lamb making 57 for the Manchester Originals. You've got Liz Ali making 25, but just wasn't quite enough, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was a bit disappointing. But like I said, you know, hopefully onwards and upwards. Although in saying that, it's always good to see the South Australians do well. And even though it wasn't for the Originals, loved seeing Amanda Day Wellington doing her thing, taking 3 wickets. She's just wonderful. And yeah, I think Australia really at loss with her not in the Australian team, in the squad, but never in the team. So, you know, I think they could definitely use her a bit more. But it's, like I said, I think she's gone out there for the Brave with a point to prove that she can do it and she can take wickets, and she's done exactly that. So it's been really great to see Wello do so well. And yeah, hopefully we can get a bit of a score out to Ali McGrath, but just not against the Originals.
Well, she missed out with the bat, didn't she? And she missed out with the ball, so not her best game. But we saw in the Women's Ashes, the summer just gone, how good she is. And the fact that she could just grab a game by the scruff of the neck and tear it apart. So, again, if you're Tali McGrath or a fan of Tali McGrath, you don't get too downbeat with this game, because, you know, round the corner, she'll probably make a 50 and take 3 wickets or something mental like that. And, you know, she's back on her game again. But certainly one that, you know, the Southern Brave can hang the hat on, I think, for the rest of this season. And to bring us back up to date, we've got Birmingham and the Northern Superchargers, the Phoenix, your second team, Lily, as you've mentioned a fair few times, I think, on this podcast so far, got themselves a win. Again, it was pretty close. 5-run winners, the Birmingham Phoenix on this occasion, set up by Amy Jones and Eve Jones, the Joneses, who both batted really, really well at the top of their order. 3 wickets for ADR and 1 for Katie Levick. And then for the Northern Superchargers, Alyssa Healy making 46 as she tried to drag her side over the line. Laura Wolfart making 32, Holly Armitage 31. But again, just falling short.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was really good to see Sophie Molyneux get player of the match for her 24 of 13 and 2 for 11. It's not very often you see her rolling the arm over, so it's good to see her back again, especially as she went through injury last season. But really good to see Sophie do well out there on English turf. Hopefully she can bring that back over for the Australian girls. But yeah, look, good to see Phoenix get another win on the board. Yeah, so moving on, we then have the men's 100, which we are just going to go over the table because there have been a couple of changes. Our Originals are in 5th. I remember they weren't before because they have got 2 wins recently, you know, in the time that we last spoke. But London Spirits still at first, winning all 4 games. Trent winning 4 out of 5 games. Oval Invincibles winning 3 out of 5. Phoenix the same, 3 out of 5. Manchester Originals in 5th, winning 2 out of 5. Northern Superchargers 6th, winning 2 out of 5. And Southern Brave 1 and Welsh Fire none. So look, I don't know what it is with the Welsh Fire, but the same thing's happening in the women's. They're just not firing.
No, pun intended.
Yeah, it was.
Fair play. But yeah, they need to get a bit of a move on, don't they? They're not having a good time of things in either competition. But again, time to turn that around. So we'll have to see how they get on. They've played one less game than the majority of the team in the men's anyway. Most have played 5, with the exception of London Spirit, who've played 4. And it's, they're bookending the table, the 4-game sides, with Spirit top and Welsh Fire bottom. So interesting when you juxtapose it like that. But yeah, Welsh Fire will get a win sooner rather than later, I think, in the men's.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to just wait and see, won't we? So yeah, fingers crossed, I guess. But other than that, we have the England versus South Africa men's test to quickly talk over.
Yeah, quickly, because it was awful.
Yeah, quickly. But yeah, look, I don't really have too much to say about it, because obviously they just really didn't do very well, except for the fact of Ollie Pope scoring, which we haven't seen in quite some time. So good to see him score 73 off 102. But yeah, that was obviously the highest score within the whole England first innings. So yeah,
and second as well, if you include those two. Shoulders clear, head and shoulders clear. But it's just the Ollies, isn't it? Like, it's just the Ollies. Like, what can you say? But he batted really well, and he was the only one really. Stupid dismissals, some of them. Like, what's Zach Crawley doing playing at the one he got out to first innings? Like, some of the dismissals were absolutely horrendous, just edging them to first, second slip. It was a good delivery from Jansen to get rid of Joe Root, LBW, though. There's a few good dismissals, a few you're just tearing your hair out going, what are you doing? Playing at a ball outside off stump. Didn't really make much sense. And to be fair, we'd got ourselves back into it in a sense. Irwin and Elgar batted well at the top order for South Africa, but we had ourselves within a sniff and we just threw it away. Like 160 odd behind, you're just thinking, just get a solid total on, get 350, 400 on the board. There's still time to maybe scrape a win or at least push South Africa, make them work. But highest scores in the innings, Alex Lees and Stuart Broad tied on 35. When Stuart Broad is making your equal most runs in an innings, there's an issue. But yeah, full credit to South Africa. They, gone and got the job done. And us deluded England fans who were, besotted by the sight of Baz Ball against New Zealand and India can just, take our rose-tinted glasses off and, be brought down to earth, I guess.
Yeah, it is a bit tough, isn't it? Because you just think, finally, we're getting somewhere. Just finally, something's happening. It's a new era. Yeah, we've been proven wrong. So, slightly disappointing.
I think a lot of that is, most of the time in those games against New Zealand and against India, we were batting second. And this time we were sent in to bat first. And it just shows that the flaws, I guess, with that way of playing. It's fine if you're chasing something, but if you're looking to set something, it's probably not the best way to go about it, because you can't win a test match, or it's hard to win a test match in one day. It's easy to throw it away, and I think that's what we did. We threw it away within the opening couple of sessions, and we never made it back from there. Yeah,
I completely agree. But other than that, not much else to say about it, really, is it? It just was pretty disappointing overall.
Yeah, I think pretty disappointing is an understatement, to be completely honest with you. It was awful to watch, really. And we've just got to move on to the second test now, which I suppose the only positive about that is when you lose a test match like that is that the next one is, not too far away. We're recording this on the 20th on the Saturday. The second test starts on the 25th. So again, they've just got to put that first one behind them and move on. It's Old Trafford, obviously my home ground. So I always like watching cricket at Old Trafford. So hopefully England can turn up.
Yeah, hopefully. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what happens soon. But other than that, we will move on to our guest. Now, before we jump into that, I did just want to give a little heads up as to what's happening over the next couple of weeks. So we're recording this on Saturday. We post our episodes on Wednesday evening. Usually we record this bit on Tuesday before, but we are recording this on a Saturday because I will be leaving on the Thursday, I'll be heading over to England, like we mentioned. So this has meant that to give me time to edit it all and put them all together, we are having to record this now, hence why we haven't talked about much cricket for the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday section.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd just put that out there, just in case
it's worth breaking. Yeah, it's worth breaking the fourth wall. And we just to say what an effort you do for this podcast. Like, we rarely mention it on air, but like ever since coming on the pod, I just realised how much work you do to put this together. And you going over to England leaves it in the very, very incapable hands, potentially, of me, who's going to try and hold it together in a sense while you're away, possibly. But no, you do wonderful work, and it's a credit to you and all that you do for the pod.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. But no, it should be all good. And we're just going to miss out on a few hundred games, a couple of weeks of it. Shouldn't be too much. But in saying that, the next 2 weeks episodes will be pre-recorded, obviously, as I won't be doing it over there. So they'll be pre-recorded. We won't talk about any cricket. It will purely just be the interviews. But like we said, moving on to the interview, this week we have Ami Campbell on the podcast. I love Amy. She's a great character. I think she's really funny, and I've loved watching her play for Sparks, and I've also really loved watching her for the originals. It's been really good to see her get her opportunity. But yeah, without further ado, enjoy the interview with Ami Campbell. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Could you just tell us a little bit about where you are at the moment and where you're kind of at with your cricket?
Yeah, so we are in Headingley at the minute. So we've got a game against the Northern Superchargers today, which is my old stomping ground. That's where I was last year. So a little bit of a derby for us today. So I'm quite excited for it, actually. And the sun is shining, which is always good. So yeah, we're in a hotel in Leeds currently. We've obviously got the morning off this morning, so it's quite nice and relaxed before we go in and play. But yeah, in terms of where I am with my cricket, obviously I play for Central Sparks. I played for Diamonds last year, and I got my first contract this year with Central Sparks, which I'm absolutely loving. So I'm based in Birmingham now. Our place of work is Edgbaston, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm loving my cricket there. I'm loving the coaching. I'm loving the girls. It's almost like really blown up for me in the last year or so, and I think it's probably for many other players as well. Everything's just went from nothing to like 100 miles an hour, which is pretty exciting, but a little bit overwhelming at times. But yeah, it's been a really crazy year for me and the other girls as well.
Yeah, as well. I mean, it's been brilliant to see you play for Sparks and Originals so far. I've been keeping, both Ollie and I have been keeping watch from over here. But obviously we'll get around to 100 Sparks stuff. But can we just go right back to the very beginning and just tell us a little bit about how you very first started playing cricket and how that all came about for you?
Well, quite generic, really. My dad was a very good cricketer. He played for the Navy in the Northumberland County, so he played county cricket. He was very good. And my mum worked at the cricket club, I think for 15 years. So every school holidays, I wouldn't have a choice. I'd be there with my mum at the cricket club. So it wasn't just my dad playing, like my mum, obviously childcare and whatever throughout the summer. There was loads of summer camps on, and I was just playing with the boys from, I don't know, I think I was chasing my dad on the pitch when I was in my nappies. Like cricket's always been a part of our family life sort of thing. So started really, really young, and then just played county boys up until there was access to women's county cricket. And yeah, played for Durham, Northumberland, Yorkshire. Had a 2-year break, which is probably the best thing that I ever did, because I realised I actually really love cricket and I wanted my life full time. And then came back to, well, the Northern Diamonds thing came about when they started the domestic setup sort of thing, and yeah, they were like, well, you're good enough to be in it. So, and I was a bit like, oh, at that point, you don't really know whether you are or you're not. You don't really know what you're capable of, and you don't really know what you're going into, because everything was so fresh. But yeah, absolutely loved playing for the Diamonds, and it was good. It was girls that I'd been playing with since I was 15, like Katie Levitt, Phoebe Graham, Lauren Minfield, all the girls that I'd been like growing up with, basically. And And obviously that was our first sight of getting paid for playing cricket. And how much that's grown in the last couple of years is absolutely mental. Played for the Chargers last year, but didn't get a game. That was a really big learning experience for me. Just watching on the sidelines was actually probably just what I needed at that point in my career. So coming to Manchester Originals this year and actually starting up getting a game, it's just everything's just moved so fast. But I'm absolutely loving it. I love the girls in Manchester Originals. They're a really great group. We have a lot of fun. It's kind of like a family environment, which is lovely. And hopefully we get a win today.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. But no, it's all going really well. But yes, just been playing all of my life, basically. Just since I could have a bat in my hand, I always have.
Yeah, we're both Originals fans, so we're hoping that there's a win on the board today, which would be nice. But we'll have to see. You mentioned obviously with 101, the first edition of 100, you never, didn't really get a look in too much, but this time you've been involved. What did you take from the first 100 not playing and being on the sidelines to playing every game so far in the second edition?
I feel like because you're playing with really, really good overseas players and you're training with them, and you kind of got to be a little bit of a sponge in that sort of environment, because yes, I've been playing cricket for 20 years, but actually learning how to play the game properly, the talent's always been there, but playing the game's a completely different thing. Like, you've got to kind of marinate the both. So me just watching on the sidelines of how these great players play the game, how they win games, how they go about the way they do that, for me to take a step back and be like, okay, the talent's there because I'm here, because I wouldn't be here if I wasn't talented enough, but I need to learn how to be better at playing the game. And from that perspective, I was able to sit on the sidelines and watch that happen. There was a few, from a personal perspective, there was a few players that got thrown in there that probably struggled with that, and they probably learned from that experience. I kind of had it wasn't nice not getting picked, and it was really, really probably quite a low point for me in terms of confidence, and it's never nice not being picked. But now looking back on it, it was probably the best thing for me, because if I was thrown into that when I wasn't ready, I think it would have been a lot more detrimental than what it actually was. I was able to kind of relax on the sidelines, be really supportive of the team, and be there for them how they needed me, running drinks. And you never ever disregard a person that runs drinks, because they're the people that make things work throughout the day. We were looking after the players, sort of thing. And it's, yeah, it was just like I was quite happy to just sit there in the end and like soak it up. I actually got COVID halfway through the competition, so it was sort of like, it wasn't a case of me not getting the game, because at the second half of the tournament I might have actually got one. But I got COVID halfway through, and yeah, so I had to watch it from my sofa for the second half, which was pretty miserable, to be honest, being a flat by myself for 10 days after the 100. It was a bit of a come down, but I learned a lot, and I'm really glad that happened at that time. Right now I feel like I'm so ready for this. I mean, there's so much more to learn. I'm learning as I go. If you think that I've batted for 2 games out of 3, and I'm still figuring out how to play the game and how to help them win games and build partnerships and stuff like that.
Obviously, a lot of it seems in control now. Obviously, getting COVID and not getting selected is a lot out of your control. Do you feel a lot more confident in yourself now that it's you're getting games, you're getting to hold the bat and have a go at things? You feel like your game is allowed to shine now because things are more in your control and more's you're getting the rub of the green in a sense?
Yeah, definitely. Well, getting picked for one is, you've got that instant feeling of, people are backing me and they actually believe in my abilities. So that's going to be a confidence builder. And I think a lot of your confidence comes from working hard as well. Like over the winter, that was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my cricket, purely because I just had access to more coaching and obviously training there full time, sort of thing. Well, at least 3 days a week. So yeah, with training hard comes confidence. Before the 100, I still had a job doing something else, whereas now I'm fully into my cricket. I actually feel a little bit out of sorts when I don't have a bat in my hand. And I think that's the difference, that the amount of coaching that we've had and the amount of time that I've been able to put into it over the winter, that's a massive confidence builder for me. And then getting selected is just the cherry on top of that. And I think a lot of confidence comes from you proving to yourself that you can work hard, and yeah, just believing in your own abilities. Really, confidence got to come from within. It can't just come from external sources of being selected, and you've kind of got to put in the work yourself. And I've made sure I've done that this winter.
Yeah, I mean, and you also mentioned about moving over to the Sparks this season as well. So playing in the Charlotte Edwards Cup and the Rachel Hayher Flint Trophy, which has obviously been paused till after the end of the 100. But batting and playing in those games, that must have been like, I guess, a good build up within that team, and some of the girls that you verse against in the 100. That must be a good warm up to practice for the 100 and get yourself out there.
It is that, yeah, but it's never nice facing Emily Arlett, you know. You never get used to facing Emily Arlett in the nets because she's so tall, she gets so much bounce. She's a person, even though I love pace and pace, I'd face pace any day of the week over spin, because I just like pace on the ball so I can hit it further. But yeah, Emily Arlett, she's just one that I can't really judge her. Whereas Wongi, I love batting against Wongi. Absolutely love. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, she's got mountains of experience now with the England stuff. It'll be a good battle. I love those girls as well. I would love playing against them. I love playing with them. We're all really close friends now. So that should be a really fun game to watch for everyone.
Yeah, and a lot of us are definitely going to be looking forward to that little matchup there. But like you said, you moved from the Diamonds. What were you kind of expecting going over to the Sparks, and what were your feelings and thoughts making that move from, you know, such a home group of yours to moving to the Sparks?
Yeah, it was a really, really hard decision to make, and I think I'm 31 now, and I've got to go with where I'm going to improve. Like, this professional sort of career is not that long. Like, I'll probably look to retire around 35, 36. If I can go longer than that, then fair play. Like, I'll go till, you know, the cows come home. But I think with the Sparks, they offered a batting coach, basically someone that was going to Dominic Oslays. He worked with me a lot over the winter. He's actually become a little bit like my second dad now, and that was something that Diamonds were missing. They didn't have a proper batting coach, and for me to get better, I had to make that move for myself. I didn't get offered a contract for the Diamonds, so that was my only contract offer as well. So it was almost like, Amy, 31, is now or never. Like a team with really good coaching, and a really good setup, and a director who really, really cares about a lot of her players, or all of her players. And, you know, we've got sports psychs, we've got you know, really good top physio. We've got access to everything. Basically, any troubles that we're having, they're all over it, and they really, really want to help you. And I think in terms of the coach and the batting coach was the reason why I moved, because I needed to get better. And it's worked really, really well for me so far. So I'm glad I made that jump and took that risk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worked well so far. Obviously, you mentioned you didn't have a contract with the Northern Diamonds. Did you feel as though you had a point to prove, as if to say, well, obviously you're not wanting to go with me. You know, I've got someone here who is, you know, trying to make them regret decisions in a sense?
Tough one, that. You know what? If they want to do that and make that decision and lose out on one of their batters, and you're not giving them an opportunity when they probably could have, that's their loss, not mine. And I think they've actually done me a favor by doing that. So I'm kind of grateful that they didn't choose me, because I've now moved on to not better things, but something that's going to complement me a lot better in terms of the batting coach. And that's something that the Diamonds didn't have, and that's something that has really, really worked for me. So I'm grateful now. I don't have any animosity or anything like that. It's sort of like that's professional sport, isn't it? Like, they're gonna, you know, if they picked a bowler over me, for instance, it's sort of like, well, that's obviously what they needed in the team at the time, and that's what they wanted to invest their time in, some of the younger players and whatever. So if that was the right thing for them, that's fine. I don't have anything to prove though to them.
Yeah.
I think, it's just one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly
the best.
it's not all sunshine and rainbows sport, is it? Sometimes, you move away from teams and you join teams that work better for you, and sometimes it just works better for everybody involved. But another thing we wanted to ask, if we just bring it again back to earlier on, obviously growing up in the Northeast, and obviously it's an interesting area because Northeast is absolutely massive, isn't it? And some could potentially argue that it's somewhat isolated from the rest of the country in a sense, but it's obviously a huge area and very passionate about the sport. What is the Northeast like as a cricketing region? Obviously, plenty of good players have come through. So did you find that growing up there sort of helped your cricketing career in any way?
Absolutely not. Living in Newcastle as a kid was not good if you wanted to get anywhere in cricket. It was when I was playing for Super Fours, which do you know Super Fours? It was basically when all the regions got together. It was like all the best players in the country basically got together, and we all got split up into diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and something else. A majority of them were like Southern, and all the best players were Southern. That just seemed to be where all the money was. And Northumberland didn't have any money at all, and that was the county that I was playing for at the time. So money in terms of like really, really good coaching facilities, stuff like that, they were always kind of sort of stretched. Whereas I felt like all the girls that were from the south, they were the players that were making England. They were the players, like for instance Danny Hazel, she was playing Durham, but she had to make that move to Yorkshire a little bit further down because that's where a little bit more money was, and to get recognised there she had to make that move, and she made that move at a really, really good time for her, and obviously that progressed on to a really good England career. I kind of got stuck in Northumberland, I think, and I moved on to Durham, and then when I finally went to uni in Yorkshire, that's when I started playing Yorkshire, and that was like sort of first division cricket. It was really, really good standard, and that was my first ever really attempt at playing a really, really good standard of cricket at county level when I went to uni for women's. I played obviously boys county up until under 13s, which was good for me. But in terms of that, from there to there wasn't much. There was quite a low standard of cricket. So yeah, it wasn't easy being in the north, growing up and having that talent, and you have to really, really work to be seen. And it's getting a lot better now. It's 10 times better now. They've got a good setup, but they're still stretched. Like they're still stretched up north. But yeah, it's definitely developing. But when I was younger, it was a lot tougher.
Yeah, I think that's the case with a lot of things. It's not easy being from the north at times, and that's the way it is. It's the cards that we get dealt, and that's it. But you mentioned about playing boys county cricket, through your junior years, and you played alongside Mark Wood, which I found really interesting, and captain Mark Wood. Two-parter. What was Mark Wood like at that age, and also what was it like captaining a boys county side at that age?
Right, well, I'll go for what was it like captaining first. I am the worst captain. I got it for one season, and I made such a shambles of it because one, I can't even look after myself and check where I am on the pitch. Even now, I wonder. Watch me play cricket. I'll wonder, and you'll catch Crossy being like, Campbell, move back to where you're supposed to be, because my concentration span, apart from when I'm batting, I just wander off, especially if I'm hungry. I'm the worst. So me at that age to try and control a boys team who are already pretty pissed off that they're being captained by a girl, it was an absolute nightmare. It was a shambles. I got it for 1 year and that was it. But I still like to remind Mark Wood every now and then. But him as a person, honestly, he hasn't changed. He really, really hasn't changed. He's still he was always really warm-hearted, lovely, quite funny, and he's still that person now, and I think that's why everyone loves him, because he hasn't changed one little bit. Yeah, great guy, really nice guy. He was always very talented as well. He always bowled rapid. But back then he was a really good batter. He was a top order batter as well, so I think he's a bit like me. I sacked off the bowling and started to get better at my batting, and he probably sacked off his batting and started getting better at his bowling, so it's worked out pretty well for him so far. But yeah, lovely guy.
No, that's good to hear. But I mean, talking about you kind of that age, did you have any specific cricket role models growing up? I know, you know, it probably wasn't many women at the time, but you know, if you had any, who would they be?
My role models. You know what? I loved all the naughty cricket players. So I loved Flintoff. I loved Peterson. All the players that had a little bit of attitude on the pitch, basically. I was probably a little bit like that when I was younger. I can get a little bit like that now. So yeah, sort of like all the naughtier players. So like, yeah, Flintoff. I loved Darren Goff as well. I thought he was a cheeky guy. Loved Brett Lee because how fast he bowled. Like I just amazed at how fast he was. That's the only people I can sort of remember in terms of Catherine Brunt. Always loved Catherine Brunt. Thought she was as I say, she's another feisty one on the pitch. I think I like the people that've got that fight in them and can bring that attitude to the game. But yeah, probably those ones. To be honest, I didn't watch a lot of cricket growing up. I played a lot, but I didn't watch a lot. I've only really started watching cricket properly in the last 2 to 3 years, which is outstanding, really, considering I've been playing. But I think that's why now I've got a better knowledge of the game and how to play it. And I think you can play cricket and be talented at it, but understanding a game and at which points to go and which points to not, I've only really started developing that properly in the last 3 years. But that's just through proper coaching. We didn't have access to sort of stuff back then. So.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that about like the firiness and the fiery players, because I definitely picked that up when you reviewed that one the other day, because you were determined that wasn't out, and I was like, I definitely saw.
Sue's had me over there. I can't believe she's done that.
Oh, no.
I was like, missing and high. I was like, should have had a word with her at the end actually, but nah, she's lovely. absolutely love Sue. She's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, to be fair, it was a good job that I did do it last second because when I walk off, I think it's hit my 5-pad, and I think that was my first ever game batting in the 100. So obviously there's a little bit of like, not nerves, but like you don't really know what to do. Like I've never been in that situation before with the crowd, and it's almost like everyone's like zooming in on you a little bit, and you're just like, what do I do? I think I'll get used to that over time, but I'm really glad I did in the end, obviously, because it was really, really not out. So would have been annoyed if I hadn't. But yeah, exactly.
I mean, and talking about that, it must be pretty different, I guess, because over here in the WBBL, which we've had going for 8 years, going on to 8 years now, no reviews or anything. So playing in a tournament where you're able to review and that kind of thing, I know it's fairly new to the women's game. That must be pretty exciting to be able to have that, you know, on your side, especially when there's decisions like the one that's made for yours the other day.
I suppose it is when you're a batter, but I mean, well, it works both ways, doesn't it? But it's nice to get that second chance if you do think that it's not out. But trying to wrap your head around it is it's pretty crazy. It's exciting. I'm excited to play more now. Like I think this has really, really pushed me forward to this is really, really what I want to do now, and it's pretty cool getting access to all those things and the exposure and stuff like that. I'm absolutely loving it so far.
That's good. Now I guess still talking about the 100, what has been your favorite part of it so far? Because you've played in the game so far for the originals, whether that be anything to do with atmosphere or the game itself.
I really, really love coming into a new team and like getting on so well with the girls. Like in this environment, it's so intense. I don't think people realize how intense it actually is. Like you get to know people, you share highs and lows and the emotions of it all, and it's sort of like I'm very much a people's person, and getting to know loads of new people and create a really good environment with them and play cricket with them is really, really cool. I've loved that. So yeah, I've enjoyed like just being part of a new team and getting on really, really well with them. From a performance perspective, running onto the pitch when I'm batting, or running onto the pitch when because I think last year I really would have been a little bit out of my depth with that, and I'd be like, oh my god, what is this sort of crowd? The thing is, you don't take note of the crowd really when you're in the middle. I think it's worse having a smaller crowd than it is having a big one. You feel like you've got less eyes on you when you've got a bigger crowd, because just when you've got like 20 people watching you feel like you've been like fully criticized, but when you've got so many people there, it's not that bad. so yeah, probably just running out on the pitch and like having my mum and dad there and stuff. Like they're obviously really, really proud, and they're the people that have been traipsing me up and down the country for the last 20 years. So kind of like giving a little bit back to them as well and making my family proud, which is probably the best thing for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Certainly. And with the originals, there's obviously the men's and the women's side, so there's quite a lot of people involved at the club. What's the morale like between, you know, all the people that you're involved with, be it, you know, the women's side, the men's side, if you get any interaction with them, and the coaching staff as a whole?
With COVID not being in place this year, we're allowed to interact with pretty much anyone. And at the Manchester Originals, I think last year they were really, really close with the men. They made the decision to not go out clubbing or whatever, and they kind of like stayed in together as a team, and they mixed their team. I think they're probably the only team that actually did that last year. So I think they built that sort of rapport with each other, and they all seem really, really close. But yeah, the boys are absolutely lovely. They're really supporting of us, and we're really supporting of them. And yeah, we all just get on. Hopefully we get 2 wins today, and we can have a drink back at the hotel tonight, and we'll all be together. We all went on a night out together the other day, and it was really, really cool. Like everyone was just dancing away, almost like we've known each other for years, and it was just, yeah, it was class. Just meeting new people. It's lovely.
Wonderful.
Still yet to get Josh Butler out though. I don't think we'll be able to get him out.
Obviously Derby wouldn't help that too, obviously with, you know, a bit of a Lancashire Yorkshire type thing going on with Manchester, and obviously playing in Leeds is going to be interesting. But obviously you talked about the crowds now with women's cricket, and it's brilliant to see the crowds are growing, and women's sport as a whole, not just cricket, is growing. We saw that with the Lionesses over the summer. How good is it to play in front of massive crowds and, you know, have more eyes on women's cricket? Because at the end of the day, that's all it deserves, really.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's literally, as I say, it's blown up so much, and I think that's what we deserve. That we're training really, really hard, and you know, we're just as skillful as the men. And I think there's a big difference in what type of crowd we're getting in at the minute. So with the women's crowd, it's like there's a lot more families, there's a lot more kids involved, and that's sort of the crowd that you want to get into cricket. And with the men's, it's sort of like that big drinking culture, isn't it? So I think we're actually drawn in the right crowd at the minute. When you get to the night game, it's almost like it turns. Like Western Terrace, I think at Headingley today is going to be an absolute nightmare because with it being a derby in the evening game. But it's great that we're drawing in big crowds and the right type of crowd as well. I think that's what we've deserved for years. But obviously that comes with the exposure. We haven't had that exposure, so I think it's definitely on the up now. I think we had the highest attendance the other day, actually. I think it was something like 10,000 watching the women's game. I think that's absolutely crazy, isn't it? It's amazing. And I think it's a lot more exciting for people to watch now because we are becoming a lot more skillful and we're getting better at playing the game. So yeah, I think that's what we deserve, and it's amazing to see at the minute.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I mean, we spoke to Holly Armitage. She said that it's funny because the women obviously play before the men, and everyone remembers the women's game, and then everyone gets all drunk for the men, so they don't remember the men's game, but they end up remembering the women's.
I don't actually think people are there to watch the men. Like every now and then they'll catch something in the crowd. But thank God they actually catch it though, because someone's not watching and the ball gets hit into the crowd and someone's had a few beers. It does get a little bit dangerous. But yeah, no, it is. I think it should be about attracting. We don't want like the football sort of mentality, do you know, like the big drinking mentality when it comes to watching football. We don't really want that in cricket. No. I know we do get it, but I'm really glad that the women we're bringing in the right sort of people, and we're actually promoting the game and getting the kids more involved. And I think that's perfect. That's what the 100 set out to do, and I think it's doing its job.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's it. And it's, I mean, like people are there to watch the cricket with the women's games. Seems like a lot nicer atmosphere around. Yeah,
it's a lot more chilled. I don't know how would react to people, you know, throwing abuse when you're feeling on the boundary in the evening, because it can be quite distracting, things people are shouting, and so yeah, I think that would be, it's quite good that we got a good crowd to ease us into these big crowds first, and then sort of all the England girls, they're all sort of used to it, but us domestic players, like we haven't really had that sort of stuff before. So it's nice that we get like a nicer sort of vibe whilst we're playing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Certainly, and you say we're drawing, in the right people. You're getting young girls and families coming in to watch cricket now for the women's games, which is wonderful. Off the back of that, do you see yourself as a role model in any sort of sense for young girls who are obviously wanting to come and then play cricket, in the position that you were all those years ago?
Well, yeah, I hope so. I've never, I think even this podcast now, I still think, oh, why do they want to talk to me? It's still, I'm still not there yet in my head, but if I can be that sort of role model for, even if it's one or two girls, like I'd absolutely love that. Like, I think that's where I want to go after my career. Like working with people in the sport, whether it's coaching or the more of the mental side of it and helping people out. And I think I think every single person on that pitch is a role model now, and we've got to be really careful with our behaviors and the way that we carry ourselves, and we have a lot of meetings about how to do that and stuff now. So it's sort of like, I'm just gonna try and be the best sort of person that I can be for these girls coming through. But it wasn't easy when I was growing up, trying to get noticed, and I wasn't the most best behaved child either. So it's sort of like, can turn yourself around if you have the right support, which is really, really good. You don't have to be private schooled and very well behaved and have no sort of bad background or anything like that to get to where you want to be. It's sort of like there's the support there now for people, which I think is really, really good. But hopefully a role model.
And I mean, it must be so special as well to see like we said before, like young girls with their parents at like 100 games, for example, and even maybe like Sparks games, just to see them like kind of go through that pathway and to watch people like you and your teammates play. That must be like just really special to see that they're there to watch you and hope to be like you one day. So that must be really
I know it's a bit mental. I still can't wrap my head around it, but it's sort of like after the game and people are asking for your autograph and to sign things and to get photos. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I didn't think I'd ever get to this point. But look, if that's going to make them happy and it's going to make their day, like I would stand there for as long as possible and sign as much as I could for them. But that's what we're here for in the 100. I think, to be more engaged with the kids and be those role models that they need. No,
absolutely, that's really good to hear. I'm sure those young girls who ask for your photos are very appreciative, but now what are your goals for the near future? What's next for you in your kind of cricket career? What are you aiming for?
Oh, you know what, this is a question that I ask myself a lot. Obviously hitting 31 now, like I would have to start pushing on thinking about these things, and you're meant to plan in advance anyway, just in case something does happen. I mean, obviously I was a sports therapist and personal trainer for 5 years before I got my professional contract, which I was successful in, absolutely loved my job. So I'd either go back into that, or I would try off the back of being professional. There's a lot more job opportunities out there to be working within cricket. Either that or I'd go back to uni and do my physio masters and maybe work in the NHS or for some form of sports team. You just never know. Things change from year to year, don't they? I think I'm all honed in on cricket at the minute, so it's quite hard to think, what do I want to do after this? Because I'm like, I don't want it to end. You don't really want to think about it, but I'd probably go that sort of route within cricket or physio.
No, good choice.
So just a couple of really quick ones before we move on to a bit of a quick fire segment that we've got. Who's your favourite teammate that you've played with across your career for the various teams you've played for?
Oh, this is a hard one. Can I say 3?
Yeah.
Say as many as you want. As many as you want.
So it would have to be Phoebe Graham, Katie Levick, and Lauren Winfield, because they're all my bezies.
Yep.
Love it.
They're all my cricket bezies, so I would have to say them 3 because I have a good laugh with them on the pitch.
Fair enough. And then what would be your favourite cricket memory just from any team over the years? If you had one memory that stands out to you, what would it be?
I think it would have to be walking on the pitch, going into bat for my first 100 game.
Yep.
So that's a new memory that's been created this month.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, I'd say that, or contributing to winning that semi-final for Diamonds against the Sparks, which actually got me my contract in the end, which was good.
There you go. With wins there, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good day. That was a good day.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. But yeah, now we just like to obviously round up our interviews with some quick fire questions, some of this or that, some new ones. So yeah, we'll just get going with those ones. So the first one is T20 or Test cricket?
T20.
T20, good.
Yeah.
Edgbaston or Old Trafford?
Old Trafford.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Yeah. Orange juice or apple juice?
Orange.
Yeah, good choice. Now, coming from the north, thought this would only fit, but ant or deck?
Oof. Deck.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Everyone's quite right. Now, if you're stranded on an island, which teammate would you like to have stranded with you? And you can choose one item to take with you. What would it be?
Oh, Ellie Threlks, because she's constantly happy and got a smile on her face, and I think I would need that in a very horrendous situation. I would take a knife.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I could kill whatever I needed to kill to eat.
Yeah.
Then I could chop some branches down or whatever, and I could carve them up, and then I use that as a spear to spear the fish.
You know what? Love it. Yeah.
You're resourceful, love it.
Yeah. Well, through everything, yeah.
Food life, is it? So you got to go for the food option first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite cuisine?
Indian. I love an Indian.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Now, would you rather be 10 minutes late or 2 hours early?
2 hours early. I've got severe time anxiety. I'll never be late.
Just be hanging around for a while, yeah. And
Definitely.
then pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Oh, definitely not. Whoever does that is wrong in. Get in the bin. So bad.
What's your go-to pizza choice then?
Sort of like a barbecue base, chicken, onions, mushrooms, sweet corn. Yeah, that's it. I'm happy with that.
Everything but pineapple.
Everything but pineapple, yeah, basically.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Pretty uncommon answer on the podcast, but maybe that's just another one to throw in the mix there. But yeah, no, that's all the questions we have. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All the best with your game and the rest of the season.
Lovely speaking to you both. Thanks for having me.
So that was the Manchester Originals star, Ami Campbell, another wonderful interviewee that we've had the absolute pleasure of speaking to. And Lily, absolutely living up to all your, all your, I suppose, dreams leading in, that you've got another polite interviewee, and so it's proved.
Yeah, really glad. And look, hopefully I'll be seeing Amy in a couple of days' time, which should be really exciting. But yeah, like I said, really enjoyed it. Really fun interview.
Yeah, it certainly was. And we've got lucky with these interviews, haven't we? We've had some absolute pearlers. Obviously with Amy this week, we had Maitland Brown the other week. We've had some, Matt Short, Jake Weatherald. We don't have any room to complain.
No, not at all. But yeah, that was all for this week. We really hope you enjoyed listening. Next week, we will be back with Sydney Thunder / Victorian cricketer Sam Bates, which is another really exciting one. She's been around for a long time, so you've probably seen her here or there. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. You can follow us on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok at howsatTCP, or you can send us an email at howsatthecricketpodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, that is all from me this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to next week with Sam, and enjoy the rest of your cricketing week.
How's that? You missed the